How you guys doing today? So in today's podcast, we're just going to be talking about the awesome GFN news. Man, they dropped a lot on us today, right? We have the 4080 coming to GFN. We have the GFN being playable in Android Auto cars, and we have the widescreen support for GFN. So we're just going to quickly get into those things and see what the panel have to say about those things. So if you guys like this, let us know in the comments below if you guys want to see more of these type of formats when it comes to videos. But in today's podcast, we have Bijan, which is short for Dad Plays Games. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. Early morning for me here in Sweden, so happy to be here.
Yeah, man. I remember talking to you. I was like, man, this guy's got to wake up early for this. And you were
I
committed. So
wasn't.
thank you.
No, it wasn't that bad. I need to be up at this point anyway, so
Cool, man.
might as well
Appreciate
make
you.
something good out of it.
For sure. For sure. Appreciate you being here, man. And then we have Ben. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good.
Good,
Just,
good. Where you at with this GFN news, man? Are you excited or you like, man?
I am excited. I like that this kind of leads to or insinuates that they're going to be continually upgrading the now what's called the Ultimate Edition of GFN.
Yeah.
So for people, kind of like other platforms promise that you would never have to upgrade your equipment ever again, this kind of leads to that kind of
Right.
feeling again.
Right. So true. So true. And thanks for your input. So let's just jump right in. There's a lot to cover, so we're gonna quickly rapid fire here. But yeah, let's start with the GFN 3080 news, and I'll share them my screen so you guys can see this right here. So as you guys can see, like Ben was saying, the name now has changed from the 3080 tier to GFN Ultimate tier. And as you can see here, we're going to begin 480 support and we're going to begin 20 FPS. The cool thing about this is that the stating that it's going to be the same price. I think that's really, really incredible. But yeah, let's just check in with the panel members and see what y'all's thoughts are in this. Is this the news that you guys are excited about, or do you think this is not that interesting to you? So, Bjorn, what are your thoughts on this news, man?
I mean, it's first of all the name change makes a lot of sense, and also means I mean now that they've done it, they don't need to do it ever again. It's now it's just the ultimate tier. It's the best tier they've got, and they can just keep making it better as time goes along. But at the same time, it's one of those argue like there's no denying that the ultimate tier or the 3080 tier in the past was the best experience. But at the same time, the price tag kind of means it's mainly aimed at more hardcore gamers, people like me who. I mean, in general, I have time to maybe play 1 or 2 sessions. So that's like 2 hours long a week at most. And for that amount of gaming, it's a lot of money for an experience that sure is better, but it's not really like these news doesn't really change that. It's gonna be like yes, it's now even better, but it's not good enough to warrant the extra price for someone who doesn't play a lot. Whereas priority is like for me, it's at least it's a no brainer. Like I'm all I mean I have access to the ultimate tier through Nvidia, but it's still I still pay for my founders tier because it's such a good value. And I mean I figure at some point I might need 2 subscriptions, one for me and one for the kids. So why not?
Yeah.
So like it's one of those where it's like yes, it's great upgrades. It's nice to see the added or the continued support and the new features and the like increased performance. But at the same time, it's still the hardcore tier for the hardcore gamers.
Well, and the truth of the matter is, most people that are going to be using this tier
Hmm.
actively are not going to be looking at. They don't want necessarily, the highest resolution possible. They want the frames, they want the speed, they want the performance.
Yeah, the
They're playing,
competitive gamers.
they're competitive gamers. They're playing, the Fortnites and the Battlefields and stuff like that on there at the highest performance possible. So
Yeah.
if they're paying for that tier, they want it to run smoother than a computer that they can't afford.
Right.
Yeah, and I can also see especially with this higher frame rate, I can see the appeal of using this GFN for like if you are at a some sort of competitive event and you want to make sure that no one has the opportunity to cheat.
True, true. So what's interesting to me is the timing of this. I know CES, CES. I always mix it up with ECS, but CES happens every year, and we know Nvidia is always present. But with Google Stadia shutting down this month, right? We all know that. For them to just come out and be like, y'all, we bring that 4080. Is I feel like what you guys are saying is a statement that they're here to stay, right? That
Yeah, I think on one hand, yeah, like it is, and I think it reassures people. But I don't think, like, I think they would have done it either way,
oh yeah,
because
without
I
a
mean
doubt.
it's Nvidia and like Nvidia have like essentially CES and then their own like developer conference for AI researchers. Those are
Yeah,
like big uh, drop moments that they have every year, and then they usually have one event by themselves as well.
right.
So like I think it's completely unrelated, but it's like by pure chance and good for them, they
Yeah,
can reassure their customers that we're
yeah,
not going to do the same thing.
right.
Honestly, on that note, like I think this has very little to do with Stadia at
Oh,
all.
absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
I
Yeah,
know that. I'm
I
just
say that's
saying.
like
exactly.
three, like maybe 3% of the intention.
Yeah,
I mean, like I've been. I mean, for those of you that know me, like I've been doing a lot of like AI content
yeah,
lately, between art and other things, just focusing on that, and that's where Nvidia's focus is. They for the last year and a half or so, they've really been pushing AI performance and
Oh,
creativity
we
very
even
hard.
longer than that. I
No,
mean,
longer than that. But for the last year and a half or so, since the like the 3000 series, so 2 years, came out, they started really pushing that really hard. And if you download the Omniverse platform from them, just the number of AI integrated apps that they support, like their playground that you can just play around in for free.
yeah,
I
yeah.
follow a lot of that stuff. I mean, this background I generated with AI and then animated it, and I'm using Broadcast
Yeah,
Studio right now. So
you've been killing it with AI stuff, man. It's
yeah,
been
that's
pretty
cool.
cool. So let's talk about the jump from 60 FPS to 120 FPS when it comes to 4K. Is that something you guys are interested in? And let me ask this question: do you feel like eventually the NVIDIA Shield is going to get that feature as well?
yeah,
Yeah,
I think it will.
yeah,
It makes me wish that there were more 120 hertz TVs on the marketplace,
right,
but
right.
sadly, there's not, because if there were, I could take much more advantage of my Series X. Whereas
Yeah,
right now, with my
yeah,
PC, it ends up collecting a lot more dust.
right. So I'll get to you, Jim, but do you think I feel like this puts the Nvidia Shield as a very competitive next gen console now? I mean, with the 3080 it was
Yeah,
like, can go toe to toe with, but this is like this is 5 times more powerful than the Xbox Series X. Like, holy smokes. And then if they update that to 120, that is like console, like next gen stuff right there. What are your thoughts on that?
but I think also the Shield, it is getting a bit dated. So wouldn't like I was honestly kind of expecting a new Shield to be announced
Yeah,
on the event because I mean it's I saw some article that the chip that they're using was discontinued
yeah,
in 2021, meaning that like they are probably like the one that are being sold right now is probably like the old stock of that chip.
yeah,
And so I mean I'm assuming we'll see a new one quite soon. And that one will definitely be like I would hope that they bundle that with a controller and go after like if you have a good solid connection, you don't need a console, you just need this
yeah,
little thing.
yeah,
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 I agree. Honestly, right now with the way the Shield is, because I have the Shield TV Pro, and for the price, I don't feel like it's necessarily worth it. There's a lot of issues. It still runs on Android TV, which, while Android TV can be very cheap, running it on an expensive piece of hardware seems like a bad idea, because every time I get an update, it's still Android TV's web UI and something breaks because Shield has all these settings cranked up. Like my audio goes out and I have to play with all the settings every single update.
Mm,
I have crashes, I have lags and audio syncing issues, and these have happened time and time again for the last 2 years since I got it. So this isn't like a rare thing. This is an often thing. Like every 3 or 4 months, this
yeah,
happens again,
yeah,
and I have to fix things again.
right. You're right
So
about the updates. The updates, I hear nothing but complaints whenever they pushed out to the Shield TV, and I didn't make that connection that is possibly because of Google
it's
Game.
100% Android
Right.
TV. They don't talk properly to Nvidia.
Yeah.
They don't like they Nvidia wants a clean platform to work on,
Mhm.
but Google doesn't necessarily want to support them. And that's kind of frustrating because there's not really a whole lot of options they can go to. It's not like they can go to Amazon and go, hey, can we use yours? Because that's running on
Right.
Android backbone
Right.
anyway.
Yeah,
It's
it's
still
all
Linux core.
like
It doesn't really help. And so there's not really any other, unless they develop their own from scratch,
Yeah.
which I don't really see them doing because
no,
they
they
don't
don't
have
do
enough
that.
of a market share to
Right.
be able to justify that.
Right.
That's still kind of they need to lower the price dramatically, and that kind of sucks because they want to have all the power, but with the cloud gaming stuff, if they want to have that much power in it, they need to have medium grade hardware and not high end hardware and try and justify the price. Well,
So
the other big thing is they need to now that they've shut down game streaming to the Shield TV,
yeah.
that was a big reason for a lot of gamers, especially PC gamers, to have a Shield TV in the first place. It wasn't GeForce Now. It was the fact
But you
that
can
they
still
could
do it,
take
right?
their
It's
PC
not.
game.
Yeah.
You have to use Moonlight. You have to use something like that. It's not an
Yeah,
easy
there
ingrained
are
thing where
options.
if you
Like you
have an
can still have.
Nvidia GPU, you can easily play all these games
Yeah.
on your living room TV on your Shield. It was so much easier then, and
Yeah.
now that's going away. And so that $200 price point for the Pro doesn't make any sense anymore.
Yeah. So what people fail to realize is that they do have a non-pro Shield TV. We actually
Yes,
have it upstairs, and it is pretty powerful. Not as
I mean, it's the
powerful.
same
it
hardware
it,
in as
it is.
in the
Yeah.
Pro. It's
So
just a bit
so
I'm
less
to
just
me,
saying
storage
the
and I
Pro
think a
the
little bit less RAM.
yeah.
I'm just saying the Pro doesn't make sense anymore, price wise.
So to me, I actually don't mind the price because I feel like it's a premium setup box, right? And to me, like it does things that other boxes don't do. So I'm okay with the premium price point. I think again, I compare it to a console. Maybe I shouldn't do this, but the thing is, if it's going to rival, right, Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5, it needs the games. And I think Nvidia does support it pretty well. Like you were saying though, the updates do break, the device, but they just need games to back it up. If GFN, this is my next take, the games, right? It's my biggest issue. I love this update. I love that they put in cloud first. I love that they're making a statement, but they need the games to back it up. And if this wants to rival consoles, right, 5 times more powerful than the Series X, they need the games to support it. And so, as happy as I am with this 4080 tier, I'm kind of disappointed because again, I'm not seeing like the support for them getting every single PC game on this platform. So with that, let's just go to that. What's your take on this year? They showcase some games coming to GFN, which is pretty cool to see. But are you guys satisfied with the amount of games that GFN got last year, and how do you see that changing with them this year?
I
I,
mean,
I
I feel they you go first. Go ahead, go for it.
they definitely slowed way down from 2020 from 2021 and 2020,
Right.
and I wasn't super happy with it. There's a lot of games that could have been on there that weren't. If they could, I mean, and I know that they're trying to be like super stringent about you know devs opting in and stuff like that, but having more of a method like I know this it's still kind of shady how they do it, but like Boosteroid, where you can play it in the cloud on the server automatically. You just have
Yeah,
to click, you know, that
yeah,
you own it, or you can install it on a server
yeah,
and it's kind of dodges the licensing thing because people have to opt in to have that in their library. It's not
yeah,
like they have to choose, so it limits the amount of licenses. So maybe they can work some deals with the developers where people just can't just add it automatically. They have to go into a second section and manually install it on the server where it's going to have maybe some performance hits or something to, you know, make people like running locally might be better, things like
yeah.
that, where give people the reason to have more good games on there.
Yeah. You see, to me, that would have been a bigger announcement than the 4080. Like, if they found a way to solve that problem of getting most games on Steam and Epic on GFN, right? To me, I feel like that would have been bigger news because 3080 does an incredible job running games, right? And so, I mean, I'll take it. I know talking to GTP and Chief, they were
Mm-hmm.
going happy about this. And shout outs to them and Monkey too. But to me, I felt like I was expecting them to solve this problem of like getting every single game in this platform. And to me, they didn't do that. So this was kind of like kind of a downer, but I'll take the 4080 any day. But Bjorn, what did you want to say?
I feel like, I mean, I'm not. I haven't counted how many games they got last year, but I think this year they got up something. So, if I did some rough calculations last week, and I think they got up like it was something around 300 plus this year, which is like, yeah, it's like I think. I mean, if you count all the shovelware, it's like, yeah, Steam gets that many games per month. That's including all the shovelware. Um, 300, like they are still missing a couple. Like there's several publishers not on there at all. There's several titles that's kind of missing. But at the same time, like 300 games in a year, I don't have time to play even 10% of that. Especially with the EA like dropping the FIFA branding, doing their own branding this year. Um, I feel it's almost like I would
I
be
think that's
very
going to
surprised if it
happen.
doesn't. Yeah, I think we'll get like the new EA football games on cloud platforms. We'll
But
get like I think Rockstar will come around and bring their games over. That's before long. 2K we've already started seeing like Midnight Suns was the first 2K game in quite a while. It wouldn't surprise me if we see more of that rolling forward. They probably had some like, yeah, if it goes down well with the audience, then why not?
Yeah,
And it probably, and to what I've seen, it went down really well.
yeah,
So I feel like the games will be like they are getting games quite quickly. There are some publishers that are not quite on board yet, but I think they will be before long. So I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think they really need to solve a lot of those issues. I think that a lot of it will sort itself out as. And let's be honest, most developers don't even know it exists.
yeah.
I mean, I've spoken to
it's
indie
true.
developers who had never heard it existed, and like when I mentioned it, like, yeah, we'll check that box because it's as easy for them as just checking that box, sending an email to an email
Right,
address,
right.
and then waiting for them to have time to just verify that it runs well.
Yeah,
Well, and honestly,
So
on that note, I one thing I was going to mention that I kind of forgot to, they need like one thing they need is a way for content creators to recommend new games to them and say, hey, please get this on your platform. And so that way they can talk to these indie publishers and developers and things like that, um, and kind of help speed up that process. Because if GFN doesn't know these games exist and these publishers and devs don't know they exist, then how is that ever going to happen other than you just spamming them on Twitter?
but as you
Mm-hmm.
can see, Nvidia GeForce Now comes to Android Auto powered vehicles later this year. So it's looking like the first car to get this is the Polestar 3, and this staying here, this comes later this year. And then also states here that it should be coming to Hyundai vehicles as well and China's BYD cars as well. So the Polestar 3 is set to be $84,000, which is oof, crazy. So, but what's your take on this? Because it seems to be a thing now. I don't know if you guys have, read in an electronic car, but the big thing when it comes to electronic cars, you have to charge it, right? So you have to sit there and you have to wait. Like I have a Tesla, and sometimes it takes like 20, 30 minutes to charge. And when you're sitting there, you need something to do, right? So this is where this comes into place, to be able to cloud game. So I think this is brilliant. But my thing is like, how is the connection going to work? And it's pretty neat because, as you guys know, Tesla just unveiled that the newer model cars are going to be able to run Steam games. So I'm wondering, like, if this is a competitor to that, right? Like, oh, Tesla's doing this. How can we compete? But this is pretty cool to see car manufacturers and cloud gaming companies like trying to make this a thing. So just want to check in with you guys. Are you guys excited about this? Do you guys see this coming out to future cars? So we'll start with Ben. What's your take here, man?
Um, so my gut reaction is self-driving isn't ready enough to play games while you drive. But the other part of me is I have a kid who stares at her tablet every
Yeah,
time I get in the car.
right, right.
And for a lot of newer cars that have, or nicer cars that have screens in the back for the kids,
Yeah,
a lot of kids don't want to sit and just mindlessly stare at a TV in the car. And so having the ability for them to play games which are going to be more engaging, kind of keep their brains moving more, develop those skills makes a little more sense than just mindlessly watching cartoons that may not even be educational. So that side of me agrees with it. I don't want people driving and playing games at the same time. So there's kind of that thin line of
Yeah,
responsible use.
able to drive and play at the same time. I think they will like when I think it will be locked to maybe only the rear seats for while you're driving, but when you're parked, you can probably do it on the front screen as well.
yeah,
That needs to be a safety control, safety
yeah.
feature.
Yeah, I'm pretty like I mean you can't even like scroll playlists for more than like two scroll taps on Spotify while you're driving. So otherwise it goes like yeah no keep your eyes on the road like you gotta wait a bit.
Man,
So
sorry about
I think
that.
you're
So,
yeah.
for those of you guys watching, trying to play the video, but this goes in hand with what uh, they say in the panel, like safety features and trying to pull kids away from screen time. It's going to be a concern as well. Again, like I was saying, the way I view this coming into play in handy is when you sitting down trying to charge your car, but then you have all these safety concerns and issues about, like, are people going to be gaming while they have their car in autopilot, so it's going to
Yeah,
be
I think at some point, yeah. I think like that is where we're going in
yeah,
general.
yeah,
I mean, when cars are autonomous enough to not require you to pay attention, and like essentially when they remove the steering wheel, it's not an if, it's a when.
yeah,
When they remove the steering wheel, then yeah, like they have everything in place for you to play the entire ride. But I think until that point, it will only be while parked or only the backseat, which also makes sense. And I'm like, Android Auto already has these sort of like you can't watch stuff on like videos on those screens unless you're parked or it's in the backseats already. So they have everything in place for that. And I think to me, it's like at this point, it's a gimmick, but I think but at the same time, it's a gimmick that's setting up the future. Like 10 years from now, that this will be normal, and
yeah,
10 years from now, the connection out on the road will be up for it as well. Currently, like while my experience of using cloud gaming, I've tried it a few times in the past. While like in a moving car, it can be spotty because connection can drop out. Like you switch cell towers and you get some stutters. But as soon like whenever you're parked, it's like at least over here we have like I mean and yet when I go into central Stockholm, I have gigabit speeds on my phone. I don't see I don't see connection as an issue when parked at the moment. When moving, yeah, but that's a few years out still. Probably like 5 years out until we're seeing that become norm. Probably even more. So at the moment, yeah, it's a gimmick, but it's a fun thing to see, And let's be honest, you probably already could. I mean, you could probably bring up a browser or an app.
Oh yeah,
So
There were
like
ways
it's
to do it before. It's just
yeah,
now it's going to be
yeah
officially
now it's
supported.
yeah it's now it's
yeah,
gonna be efficient and simpler to
exactly.
use, which is great.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's one of those like it's a cool thing, nice to see, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter.
yeah.
At least not for the next couple of 5 to 10 years.
Five
Well,
to 10 years.
on the topic of doesn't really matter and gimmicks, pretty much 90% of the features we have in cars started out as gimmicks, like, you know,
Yeah,
automatic windows, power steering,
I'm gonna say
automatic
wasn't
transmissions.
safety belts a gimmick for a while as well?
I mean, no, none of those were
That's
required.
Gimmick
They
for a
were all
while.
luxury features for the longest time.
Yeah,
They just
and then,
everything
I
starts
mean,
as a gimmick.
yeah.
yeah,
Like
and then
back.
give it a couple of years and it comes down in
Yeah.
price and then availability, and yeah, it's
Right.
just a matter of time until
Hmm.
this is really like a big deal. So it's nice to see it this early. Now
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like officially there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's honestly more news for the 2030 than this year maybe.
True. True. Okay, cool. Yeah, again, it's pretty neat to see you say 5 to 10 years. That's what I was thinking. For right now, though, it's pretty cool to see them thinking about this, but I think we still, some time out. But let's go into the last thing here, and that's the ultra wide. Let me just pull this up real quick. But yeah, this is supposed to be something that has a lot of people excited about. So if you guys didn't know, GFN is going to be supporting ultra wide monitors. And it's staying here that it's going to include the popular 12 by 9 format, which is really cool. And then it supports up to 3840 by 1600, which is a beast, bro. Like this is crazy. So it's funny now. Discord, we had a lot of people just talking about like upgrading the monitors. Personally, I think
Yeah,
we're
I've
gonna
seen
wait
people
a little bit.
drooling over
Yeah,
like $1,000 monitors. Like, oh, I need one of those.
I know.
It's
Yeah,
like,
I'll just I think it's crazy. I just bought my monitor, so I'm not gonna be upgrading anytime soon. But I think it's cool because again, they marketed the new monitors, so got people drooling with this news as well. But yeah, let's check in with you guys. Bjorn, what are your thoughts about this? Are you gonna pick up a new monitor? Like,
a new monitor is probably like towards the bottom of the list of things I need to upgrade. Like, I have so much. I mean, I'm running most of my stuff on like quite old tech as well, my work laptop, because like I'm not in a position right now where I can spend $1,000 on a new computer, let alone a new monitor. So I'm like to anyone who has or is thinking about an ultra wide monitor, and I've heard nothing but good things about ultra wide.
yeah,
Uh, this is amazing and awesome for us mortals. I would say nice for the rest of you. It's not gonna be something that I will ever. It's probably gonna be another 5 years before this is relevant for me.
right,
So I mean, and I think like ultra wide support is also one of those. Like it's for the minority, but
yeah,
it's not also nice to see. It also means. I mean, PC games. Like most PC games, I think doesn't even support ultra wide properly.
yeah,
But it's nice to see that now, like the platform now has support for it, which means more people will have ways to get this. So
right,
I mean, it's one of those really cool feature, really nice to see. For most mortal people, this is not gonna matter at all for at least a couple of years.
right.
But it is a good like a good feature to get. There's no
True.
denying about that. It's like
True. So it's quite interesting because, as you guys know, God of War came to the GFN platform in 2022 and left the GFN platform. The reason I'm saying this is because Sony is a huge supporter with the ultra wides, right? So my thing is, with this coming into play, like, are they going to push to try to get those games back? Because I would love to see Spider-Man, right, remastered on an ultra wide run GFN 4080, right? How sweet would that look? Horizon Zero Dawn.
I think it's the anime. I think Sony's support is probably the fact that it wouldn't surprise me. I'm assuming Sony makes ultrawide monitors as well.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for them to then support that for their games. But I think we probably like I don't think this will change much in that discussion. But at the same time, I'm pretty confident that discussion is happening. But I think it might also be quite a while. Like the more competition that the closer Geforce Now becomes to a console experience on on your TV. I don't think this will change the needle, but I think this it's one of those nice to have things in the discussions. Probably it won't
True.
probably won't change much,
True. Thanks
but I
for
think
that.
at some point we are getting them back.
Yeah. Hopefully soon, sooner rather than later. But Ben, what are your thoughts with the ultrawides?
Makes me wish I had an ultrawide monitor.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to
Right.
anywhere in the near future. I'm sure Holtz is very happy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But
So,
yeah,
do you know if, with ultrawides, does every PC game support it, or is it just like
no.
no? So I think the
Very,
main
very
reasons,
few. Most of
very
them, it's
few.
just a AAA like heavy shooters. It's other than that, if it's not a AAA FPS game, most of them don't support it.
Right. So that's the other thing. Like, how many GFN games do support this? I think would be the bigger questions to be asking. It's cool,
Maybe
it's
five
future
percent of
proof.
the games on
Okay.
GFN.
I would assume it's probably about as many as the RTX support.
Oh, really?
Like the ray tracing is available
That
for
that
what,
would
like
probably be
50, 50
fair.
40, 50 games, something like
Yeah.
that probably. And
So
I
less
think it's
less
like
than 5%.
yeah,
All right.
probably. Like it might be more. I might be completely
So
completely
I
wrong here, but
just
I think
Googled
it's
it. They're saying there's only 18 games right now that
Yeah,
supports ultrawide.
that sounds
Um,
about right.
yeah,
and let me pull this up for you guys.
shooters and sim games is my like flight sims and the space the space sims. I would assume.
Yeah, that I don't know that. I mean, it's future proofing it, which is
Yeah,
good.
yeah. It's all about future proofing, and
Yeah.
that's great to see. So
Let me see this. All right. So sorry about that, but we got the Division 2. It's one
Hmm.
of them. We got Modern Warfare 2. We got God of War again, another Sony. Look how many Sony games are in here, right? So God of War, Death Stranding, it's a Sony exclusive. Horizon Zero Dawn, Marvel Spider-Man, The
yeah,
Witch Wild. Oh, it's pretty cool to see the Witch. Oh, the next gen is probably gonna look pretty
yeah. It's
good.
probably that's probably why. I think that's when they added it. To be honest,
Yeah, Cyberpunk, right?
Cyberpunk. Yeah,
This is gonna be big. No Man's Sky. Was it
yeah. The
Sony or?
sim gaze represent.
Yeah, oh, this is gonna look beautiful, I think.
Yeah,
Oh,
Absu is
Absu
probably also
2.
gonna look
Oh,
great.
that's gonna look great too. Hitman 3. We
Doesn't
have
surprise me. Stardew Valley is
Stardew
surprising,
Valley. Wow.
but sure.
Oh,
Flight Sim, yeah,
Microsoft. Ooh,
that's what
that's
makes
gonna look nice. Oh, Arkham
makes
Knight.
sense.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
gonna.
that's
Forest. Ooh, that's gonna be a look at too. And Half-Life 2.
yeah, but that's
So
Valve, so it's not surprising.
and
Yeah,
Red Dead
yeah, it's
Redemption.
like a few surprises in there, like Red Dead and Batman, but
Yeah,
other than that, it's like yeah, as I said, shooters and a couple of sim games.
yeah. But
Yeah,
here's the
Well,
thing
when
I'm
you look
saying.
at it, there's only like three of those that are on
I know.
GFN at all. Four.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Four of them on GFN.
I love that it's future proof, but realistically, if you're buying a monitor just to play GFN and widescreen, yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know if that's like the right thing to do. Anyway, people have their preferences to each
Yeah.
their own, but yeah. Anyway, just want to cover this news. I think it's exciting. Me personally, I would have loved for them to prioritize bringing more games to GFN. But again, I feel like this is a statement showcasing that they're here for the long term of cloud gaming. I think cloud gaming needed a boost after 2022. There was just a lot of crazy things happening in a negative way, with Stadia shut down, Amazon Luna losing, a handful of games, and Boosteroid going through whatever they went through. So this is good. It's reassuring for cloud gaming as a whole. But just want to check in with you guys. How did you take this news? Is it something you guys will be excited to hear before we wrap this up? So, but John, go first. What's your take on this news, man?
I mean, it was one of those where it's like it was exciting to see, it was fun to see, but then when you step back and look at it, it's like doesn't really change that much. It was like it was good and fun and exciting, but not like but not changing the needle much at the end
Right.
of the day. And I think like there will be more news throughout the year that will probably be way bigger than this. But I think this is like this is the sort of news that makes headlines, whereas like getting support for a new launcher or like getting a new like like you can, I mean, there's being article written about this right now and published like throughout the day. There is not gonna be as many articles written at all about like Rockstar coming to Geforce Now, for example. When and not if that happens. So I think it's one of those like for visibility for the service, it's really great. It's gonna get people talking about it. It's gonna be and I mean it's gonna people is always gonna see like, oh, the new 40 card that looks so cool. Oh, I can get that just by subscribing here, and then they'll take a look at it, and then maybe half of those people will realize I don't even need to. The priority tier is good enough for me,
Yeah.
and half of them will, and half of the people who are left will say realize it's not for them at all, and then the other half will get the ultimate tier. So it's one of those like it's good, great for visibility. It's great for headlines. It's great for media coverage. It's cool news in general, but it doesn't change much.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's still a great service. But
Right. Thanks for that. How about you, Ben? What's the excitement level with this news? Where are you at?
Um, I feel like I was almost more excited for a lot of the other stuff they announced that were unrelated to cloud gaming, but it's still exciting. It was needed. I don't deny that at all. I do think it's cool. I do think that it's not functional for a lot of people. You know, like playing on a car. Like, who's going to have a car that can afford ultrawide monitors? Very few people are going to be able to afford that, with very few games supporting it. Overall, good announcement, but still kind of, it's more staying ahead of the curve,
Yeah.
staying ahead of the curve than it is, you know, something that most people are going to make use of.
Yeah.
and honestly, it was also like it's news that like this is a sort of announcement that belongs at CS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
True.
Hmm.
mean, because I mean, let's be honest. Like the only thing that was probably like a new shield would have been even more CS, even more of a CS thing to do. But like if they didn't have a new shield, then this was the logic
Well,
place to reveal these sort of things on.
True.
Um,
the shield would be more along the lines of Mobile World Congress, so that'd be probably more
yeah,
like in
you're
June.
right. So
But
that's
they've
coming later.
unveiled most shields at CES. That's where they unveiled the latest one and the one
Yeah.
before it.
It's
And
not too late for it though.
true, true. So we might see that mobile
Yeah.
World Congress. So
But
that's
it's
what
like
we'll see.
CS was the venue here, and that affects what's being announced.
Yeah,
I think like honestly, the fact that I didn't expect to see a single game, because it's CS. It's not about games.
yeah,
Like
Yeah.
it might
true.
maybe showing off like this game that's already out supports GFN and has looks really good with ray tracing on. Like, yeah, that was more like along the lines of what I was expecting. So anyway, all in all, it was a like, good show, to be honest.
Good, good. Well, you guys heard it here. I appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned to this. We are gonna try and do this more frequently. We'll try to have different people on here as well, but as news break, we'll come here and have discussion pieces about the news. So if that's something you guys are interested in, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel. Appreciate you guys watching. Catch you guys in the next one. So